So it looks like everybody thinks Jalen Ramsey and Anthony Richardson are coming to Detroit. What is going on? It's a Tuesday, Locked On Lions.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Matt Dery with you. It's Locked On Lions on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day on this a Tuesday, February 21st and a Wednesday, February 22nd. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts right here on Locked On Lions. Follow me on Twitter at Dery Speaks, D-E-R-Y Speaks, at Locked On Lions on Twitter. And, of course, the Matt Dery Facebook fan page. And we are live and direct, not live, but you know what I mean, on the Locked On Lions YouTube channel. Coming up today, the Jalen Ramsey trade rumors, back and forth between current Lions players, current Cowboys players. Ramsey himself has spoken. I mean, this is getting a little crazy. I've never seen a player on a current team touch on another team's interest in him, but it's all happening right now. We got to give you the latest right here on Locked On Lions. Also, Daniel Jeremiah of NFL.com's mock draft 2.0, and he's got a quarterback coming to Detroit at number 18. So we'll get into that, all of that right here on Locked On Lions. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of the NFL. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. All right, so a lot to get into today right here on the program, certainly as we're getting ready for free agency and the draft and everything else. But let's start with this whole Jalen Ramsey situation. Now, if you've noticed on this show, I got to give a shout out to my buddy Ron Studley. What's up, Ron? I have not addressed and I've not discussed a lot the Jalen Ramsey trade rumors, meaning would the Lions and Brad Holmes call up Les Snead and the Rams and make another deal with Holmes's former team out in Los Angeles? I don't see this happening, and I haven't really touched on it much. I haven't really talked about it a lot because I just don't think the Lions are going to give up draft capital, whether it's a second-round pick, a third-round pick, a couple of picks, whatever, for a 30-year-old cornerback. Now, there is the familiarity. There is the Holmes-Rams backdrop. There is the idea that Jalen Ramsey fits a major need for the Lions as a veteran cornerback that could come in and play. So the backstory on Ramsey and the Rams is, obviously the Rams are, I don't know if they're going in a different direction yet, but there's been some talk around Los Angeles and around NFL circles that maybe, just maybe, the Rams would cut Jalen Ramsey as a cap casualty or something of that nature, and the Lions could pick him up. Then there's been a lot of internet rumors and reports about the Lions trading for Jalen Ramsey. It got so weird that yesterday, or last night, Micah Parsons of the Cowboys even tweeted out, yeah, right, like somebody's going from LA to Detroit. Micah Parsons commenting on Jalen Ramsey. Amon-Ra St. Brown on the St. Brown Brothers podcast made an open plea on the show. Hey, Jalen Ramsey, we'd love to have you, we'd love to have you. Quote, Jalen, if you can hear me, I know you played with Jared Goff before. Detroit might seem like a landing spot, my guy. Talk to me, end quote. A comment from Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, again, it's on a podcast. It's ARSB just floating some stuff out there on a show with his brother. And it's all in good fun. And this was the other day. Parsons chimes in like, yeah, right, this guy's not going, nobody goes from LA to Detroit. Well, sorry, but Jared Goff went from LA to Detroit, Micah, and did quite well in year 2. Won 9 games and nearly got this team into the playoffs. Now, Jalen Ramsey himself has responded on Twitter earlier today. Quote, LOL, much love to Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown. tried my hardest to get y'all in them playoffs this year. I won't comment on my future, though. We shall see. Laughing emoji, end quote. Now, there have been some, like we said, there have been some stories out there that the Rams would cut Ramsey. Ramsey has tweeted out and saying, I'm not being let go. I'm not being cut. But this is bizarre. Like, I can't remember a time where a player was openly on a social media talking about another team and another team's players like Jalen Ramsey did. St. Brown, Amon-Ra saying on a podcast that he'd love to have Jalen Ramsey is to me no big deal, all right? You got to fill airtime. You're on the pod with your brother. It's all good. It's all positive, all right? Jalen Ramsey, yes, would be a fit here. Okay, I'm not dumb enough to say that he wouldn't be. But I don't know if Brad Holmes, for as conservative as he has been outside of the Stafford trade, which Stafford asked for, but I'm not so sure that Brad Holmes is going to pull the trigger and do something like this. The Lions have built this thing a certain way so far. 1-year deals in free agency, although Charles Harris's was a 2-year deal. At least the re-up was. Conservative contracts, build through the draft. But now things have changed. All right, so I could be wrong. The Lions won 3 games in Holmes' first year and a complete teardown and rebuild. Year 2, they obviously did very, very well this last year and won 9 games, surprised the league. And now everybody's talking about the improvement that is taking place with the Detroit Lions. So here in going into off-season number 3, free agency, the draft, trades can be made. But Jalen Ramsey, who's 30 years old, making a decent chunk of change, would he be would Brad Holmes take one of those 5 draft picks in the first 82, likely a second rounder, third rounder, something like that, and send that to the Rams to go get Ramsey, who is a very good player? All right, but does that fit where this organization is going? I'd take Jalen Ramsey. I just don't know how serious Brad Holmes would be. I think Brad Holmes, to me, would be signing a free agent cornerback or maybe even drafting 2 cornerbacks, bringing back Will Harris, bringing back Jerry Jacobs, and bringing back Jeffrey Okudah and playing that game for another year. To give up draft capital for Jalen Ramsey, well, I wouldn't be mad about it. I just don't know if that's what Brad Holmes is going to do and if that's sort of a fit. Ramsey won a Super Bowl in LA. He is very, very good. But there's a volatile side to Jalen Ramsey. There's the personal fouls in week 18, Jalen Ramsey, against the Seahawks. Where does that fit the culture of this organization, which for the last couple of years has done things sort of the right way? I'm not saying Jalen Ramsey's a bad guy. I'm just throwing it out there. So I'm mixed about this. If you told me the talent would be coming here, I wouldn't argue that. But I don't know if it's a fit for how Brad Holmes has operated. And now this guy's on his Twitter reacting to the Lions saying, Lion player, Amon-Ra St. Brown, saying, hey, we'd love to have you. So I got to think more about this, but I don't know if this is something Brad Holmes would do. I don't know what the Rams would ask for, if they would want a 2 and a 4, a 2 and a 5 to do this. And are the Lions at a point right now, going into year 3, where they have to add a veteran corner like that, who's on the backside of his career, or if they want to continue to build with younger players? We'll have to wait and see. But I thought it was something I had to bring up today here on the show. Have to bring it up. All right, coming up next, more quarterback talk in the draft, this time from Daniel Jeremiah. We'll do that coming up next, as I said. But first, if you're looking for a delicious treat, but don't want all the fat and calories, and you got to try a Built Bar. We just got through the holidays. I know my goal is to eat a little bit healthier, and that's exactly what I'm doing. If you're like me, you want to eat healthy, you got to try Built Bar. Built is amazing. They're healthy. They taste great. Totally dipped in chocolate, 100% dipped in chocolate and covered in chocolate. And that's right, We're not just talking about any kind of chocolate. We're talking about real chocolate. They come in unbelievably great flavors too. Churro, peanut butter brownie, coconut almond, and of course, my personal favorite, the cookies and cream. I had a little salted caramel Built Bar today on my way to my annual meeting today. That's why I'm all spiffed up if you're watching on our YouTube channel. And I'm feeling really good. It's good for you. It's about 140, 150 calories. Good for you. Head to your nearest Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy section, and grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or even the coconut puffs. And if you're close to Sam's Club, go in and grab a 13-bar box of our hit flavors, brownie batter, and churro. You can thank me later. And of course, you can always get Built Bars at Built.com. We love Built Bar, proud sponsors of Locked on Lions. All right, here we go. Just when you thought the quarterback talk was dead, just when you thought no one's going to talk about quarterbacks coming to Detroit, Daniel Jeremiah, NFL.com draft analyst, is putting it out there that the Detroit Lions should look at Anthony Richardson, the quarterback out of Florida, with the number 18 pick. Jeremiah's mock draft 2.0 came out today. First pick, Bears, Jalen Carter from Georgia. Second pick, Texans, Bryce Young, the quarterback from Bama. Arizona would take Tyree Wilson at number 3, which I think is a little bit of a surprise, going with Tyree Wilson over Will Anderson. C.J. Stroud, number 4 to the Colts. By the way, JBC is back. Cooter country in Indy. Jim Bob Cooter, the new offensive coordinator of the Colts. How about that? Seattle at number 5 would then get Will Anderson, 1 pick ahead of the Lions. And then at number 6, Detroit would take Myles Murphy, the edge from Clemson. Daniel Jeremiah writes on that, Aiden Hutchinson was a home run pick last year, and fellow rookie James Houston was very productive in limited playing time. Murphy would give the Lions 3 outstanding young edge rushers. We've talked about mock drafts before. We've talked about Myles Murphy before. I would not have a problem with the Lions taking Myles Murphy at number 6. Just to give you a little bit of a context here, Will Levis, number 7 to the Raiders. Lucas Van Ness, number 8 to the Falcons. Pete Skoronski, the big tackle from Northwestern, number 9 to Carolina. And Devon Witherspoon, number 10 to Philadelphia. We've talked about some mock drafts before that have had Witherspoon going number 6 to Detroit as well. But Myles Murphy, to me, taking an edge, taking a D lineman at number 6 would not bug me in the least for Detroit. I would like that, and I think that's something that fits what Brad Holmes is into, which is he's taken a lot of defensive linemen the first couple of years. Houston, Hutchinson, Josh Pascal, all of those guys have been Brad Holmes picks. Aleem McNeil, Onzarike, all right? Brad Holmes loves himself some defensive linemen. Then at number 18, which is very interesting, Daniel Jeremiah has the Lions drafting Anthony Richardson, the quarterback from Florida. Quote, the Lions have the perfect situation for Richardson as he enters the league. He can sit behind Jared Goff for at least a year and then provide the rewards that come from building a team around a quarterback playing on his rookie contract. End quote. I like Anthony Richardson. I don't love Anthony Richardson. I'm not sure about how accurate he is. He started the year this past year down at Florida with the Gators, very, very hot, and looked really, really good early in the season. But at number 18, what Daniel Jeremiah is doing and pointing out is something that we saw in Green Bay, which was Jordan Love got drafted and he sat for 3 years. Now, there are rumors and reports out there. We mentioned Bob McGinn yesterday saying that the Packers are ready to turn the keys over to Love and Aaron Rodgers will be gone. But what if Jared Goff has a really good year next year too? Then Jared Goff will be playing on the last year of his contract in 2024, playing for a contract, and likely would want an extension with the Lions. If you draft Anthony Richardson at number 18, yeah, you're grooming him to take over for Goff, but when? Jared Goff is coming off arguably his best year ever. Jared Goff is not 33 or 36 and ready to hang him up. Jared Goff is still in his 20s. So taking Anthony Richardson at 18 at that high means you're committing to eventually handing the keys over to Richardson. But if Goff has a good year next year and the Lions win the division and make the playoffs, don't you have to commit long term to Jared Goff for years to come? It's almost like Daniel Jeremiah or anybody else that thinks that the Lions are going to take a quarterback at 18, whether it's Richardson or anybody else, is thinking that Richardson's going to take over sooner rather than later. You're not drafting a quarterback at 18 to keep him sitting there for 2-3 years, which is what the Packers have done, and now they're in a bit of a conundrum. If Jared Goff, again, plays really well this year and has Ben Johnson with him and Dan Campbell and weapons and another year of Jamison Williams and all of that, then why would you take Anthony Richardson at 18? Unless they think, the Lions think, that Jared Goff will not perform next year and that this past year was just a fluke. Now, there's a player in this mock draft that I could see the Lions taking at 18 for a different reason over Richardson. And I'll tell you about that coming up next. But it's the midway point of the NBA season. It's here. We got games getting back together going on Thursday after the All-Star break. Now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores, threes drained, whatever it is. Tonight, Michigan State taking on Indiana. Folks, I'm going down there tonight. I'll be there. Let's go Hoosiers. No offense, Spartan fans. My son's at IU. You want to bet on the game? Download the FanDuel app. Get started. FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. Don't miss a chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, so I told you about this mock draft from Daniel Jeremiah at NFL.com. And he's got the Lions taking Anthony Richardson at number 18. I've seen some discussion about this player coming to the Lions at 18 as well. And he was taken one pick after the Lions in this mock draft. And that is Texas running back Bijan Robinson. I think there's a better chance that the Lions take Robinson than they take Richardson. Now, some of you are going to go, wait a minute. The Lions are going to re-sign Jamal Williams. They've got DeAndre Swift. They've got Craig Reynolds, Justin Jackson they could bring back. The Lions are just fine in their running back room. But Brad Holmes sometimes throws us a curveball. Brad Holmes sometimes says, we've got to take the explosive player. And Bijan Robinson, for many people, is the best running back in this draft. And with DeAndre Swift not being a Brad Holmes draft pick, he was drafted by Dan Quinn, Bob Quinn. What if the Lions drafted a running back at 18? I'd hate it. I don't think they need it. But I see it being a possibility more than I see Anthony Richardson. Bijan Robinson is really good. Power, speed, he's the total package. Running backs, to me, are a dime a dozen in this offense when you have the passing game that the Lions have this past year. You had everybody show at some point this season that they could run the football. Justin Jackson showed in some games he could carry the mail. Craig Reynolds, same thing. DeAndre Swift, same thing. Jamal Williams was an 1,000-yard rusher, who I think they'll re-sign. But again, Brad Holmes may say, this was the best available player on our board and we had to take him. And we'll figure out a way to use him. And DeAndre Swift, after next season, might not be here. So keep that in mind. I'd be interested in seeing, I could see that being more of a possibility than a quarterback. But if you have a really good offensive line, running backs taken late, 5th round, 6th round, Isaiah Pacheco, Chiefs, 7th round. I'd rather use the draft capital on a corner at 18 to go with Miles Murphy at 6 than a quarterback or a running back. But I could see Robinson going at 18 more than I could see Richardson going at 18. So there's that. All right, that'll do it for a Tuesday edition of Locked On Lions. Thanks for making us your first listen, checking us out wherever you get your podcasts. Sam Monson, our buddy from Pro Football Focus, will join us tomorrow.